How's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
What's
You
up,
Adam?
man? Yeah, I'm Adam. How are you?
I'm doing pretty lovely. Yeah. Honestly, it's a good morning. Day after Thanksgiving, you're a little sleepy.
Sure. Yeah. How was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
It was wonderful. Just actually here in Washington State, where my parents live. I don't know if you can see it. There's like a
Oh,
lake
wow. You
right
live right on
there.
a
Yeah.
lake? That's dope. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. So this is where I went to high school and where my family still lives, but I live in Nashville, Tennessee now.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
but yeah, it's always fun to come back here and visit and be in the Northwest. It's like it's unlike any other place.
Sure. Wow, that's a beautiful lake. Wow. So you grew up, is this the house you grew up in that you're at right now?
No, this is actually in Deer Lake, Washington, which is um, this is like a lake cabin that my parents got like a few years back. And when I lived in high school, I lived in Spokane, which is like the city that's about an hour away from here. And yeah, so this isn't quite my like childhood home, but
Sure.
it definitely feels like home now because we've just had like so many memories here. I mean, like any other year, we would have had like the whole family up here, like extended family
Oh, sure.
um,
For Thanksgiving
and
and
stuff.
everything.
Yeah, so we've already had several holidays up here like that. So it's kind of like it's a bummer to be here and not, have the whole extended family. But
Hmm.
I think, just being up here makes it feel like it's something special.
Sure.
It's just it's really good. Where are you at right now?
We're in San Diego.
Cool.
California, but we're actually, it's funny that you meant that you're in Nashville because we're hopefully moving there within the next like 3 or 4 months.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
yeah, we're really excited.
Sweet.
We need a change. Doing this podcast for a little over a year now. It's like so many artists we talk to are all there. It's like, why not just go where
Yeah.
everybody else is? You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
there's no
that's
state
great.
tax and all that great stuff. So that's cool that so how long have you lived in Nashville for?
I moved to Nashville when I was 18 years old to go to school, and I went to Belmont University. That's
Oh,
there.
wow. Okay.
Um, yeah, and I initially went to study songwriting, um, and then switched around. I got freaked out uh, halfway through my college career, like thinking, "Oh, I'm never gonna be a songwriter." Like, and
Really?
so I switched to like music business, um, but then like still kept up with my music and really was like making it sort of like my only priority at
Hmm.
that time. And so I ended up I guess studying music for the most part with my time, but I got a music business degree, I guess more formally.
Nice. Well, I
um
mean, I'm sure that's probably the best degree an artist could get aside from, I mean, songwriting, but obviously you have the songwriting chops, but to have the
it,
business end of it, you know what I mean?
yeah, and I mean I think it came down to also to just sort of like what is it like to like learn the craft of songwriting in a classroom as opposed to maybe learning it on your own, and sort of that it's like such a like invisible magic thing. So it's like kind of
Hmm.
like it was hard for me to like be in a classroom and like make it feel very structured. So
Yeah,
but
that's
it's great. I
interesting because I
I
would
show
think like songwriting, there's like so many different ways to form a song. It's like, how do
hmm
they really, I guess you'd have to learn every way to
well,
do that. Or I don't really.
and this is all love to Belmont. I think the program I was in though is like commercial songwriting. So
Hmm.
it was kind of like how can we give these students sort of a like roadmap to be able to go into sessions and write with other people and write commercial uh, songs
Hmm.
and like to like pitch to other artists and stuff.
Oh, sure. Oh,
But
wow. That's cool.
yeah, so that's like sort of the goal of that program. But I was more like always had my artist hat on and was less so wanting to, I think, like write songs for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time I would write a song, it would always just be like not necessarily like pitchable, you know. It would
Sure.
just be like
Something
it would
you
just
like.
be like yeah, it would just be like my own specific life. So I don't know if like anybody could sing my songs, but I think that there's actually like a very like um cool and like valuable thing to have a song that could be sung by anybody. So I
Mm-hmm.
do like think that that's sometimes not necessarily a goal, but I do think that like if you can make it specific enough to yourself to like really fall in love with it, but like broad enough that like anybody could sing it and make it their own, that's
Mm-hmm.
like when you know, that's when you're really getting somewhere, I think.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit real quick. So, how you
Yeah.
grew up in? We talked a lot about you grew up in Spokane, but I want to know how did you get into music originally?
Yeah. So I moved around quite a bit when I was younger, but once I landed in Spokane, I was sort of messing around creatively in a couple outlets. I think like I was at the time wanted to like be on YouTube and like
Mm-hmm.
was really interested in like video games and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
um, and
that's still so huge. I mean,
oh,
wow.
it's only grown since then,
Yeah.
but and still an interest of mine. But I think then I like through that like creative outlet, like started. I got like a microphone, and I was learning all these different programs on my computer, and eventually, I think I just started like ripping beats from YouTube and like making my own lyrics to them. I think like some of my first like recordings were just me like downloading a like uh Fun. You remember that band Fun?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like We Are
We Are
Young.
Young, like that's
Yeah,
Jack Antonoff's band. Yeah.
Jack Antonoff and yeah, and then Nate
Nate
Ruess was the
Ruess.
singer.
Yeah.
And you know, Jack is still one of my heroes. But like that was like my
Legend.
first band. That was like my first band in high school that I was like really like intrigued by, and like
Mm-hmm.
I just would I downloaded like a Fun instrumental and like wrote my own lyrics to it and stuff, and like I hope that no one ever finds it.
Is it still living
um
on the internet or
I
just
think
scrub it
so.
off?
I think it is. I mean, at the time I was honestly just stoked to have my voice recorded, and like I was doing like mixing myself at the time just on my
Mhm.
computer, just trying to figure it out. But yeah, I got started in music really just kind of by accident. I think that I was always just a creative uh like uh person growing
Mhm.
up, and um like I love like storytelling, and I love just like um I guess I mean even just the whimsical nature of music is like something that like I think I've always like was drawn to, and like being an artist I think really started like to develop within me in high school. I was like sort of looking at like really dove into like Kanye West in high school, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is what an artist is, and like that was like, you know, I think like I like learned along the way sort of from other artists like what artistry was, and then I went to Nashville, and like there was just like an overwhelming um community of
Mhm.
like-minded people that I'd never had before. And so as soon as I like dove into that, it was like light switches just started like going off in
Mhm.
my brain like every single day. And it was like um, learning more about production and composition and structure, and how to use my voice, and like and I don't play any instruments, and I make all the music for Dreamer Boy with my good friend Bobby Nepper.
Mhm.
And I met him in college, and sort of like as that relationship started to grow, and now where it is now, it's like it's just like been a beautiful, I think, like journey to like be able to, I think, like respect like what it is that I'm doing enough now, whereas I think like the naivety like of like being in high school and like just like ripping beats off of YouTube to like try and do something, like that was like such a easy way to like just like get the fire started. But now I think like it's cool now to see how that craft is like almost expanded to the point where it's like it's so much deeper and richer than I ever thought back then, you know. And so I really am just, I think my first love is songwriting, honestly, and that's why I was excited to do this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're excited to have you, man. Thank you. Well, going
Yeah.
back to the songwriting. So to get into Beaumont College, did you applied as a songwriter, and then did you have to
Yeah.
like present them a song? Like, how did you get into the school?
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. So when I applied to Belmont, if you wanted to apply to the songwriting program, you would submit some of your work. And so I submitted, I didn't necessarily just go from Jack Antonoff covers to Belmont. It was like, I ended up like making a lot of like hip hop music and making beats with my friends later in high school. And I ended up putting out like a couple mixtapes that were like original songs and stuff. But were very just kind of skeletal, you know. They were very, I guess, just like bare in terms of like production and stuff, you know. And so I submitted those, and I guess like they were good enough to be accepted into the program. And so I was, you know, obviously I was excited because I had never really had any like validation like that.
I was just gonna say, was that kind of like a validating feeling? Like, wow, like I got into the school, like I should probably be doing this.
Yeah, well, I think there was just several, I think, like affirmative moments in the journey that felt like, oh, this could be like a real thing for me, you know. And like, you know, my parents are very academic, and they like work in they've worked in colleges their whole life. And so I mean, even just so their like influence on me was always to like, you know, if I can go to school for this, like that would be amazing, you know. And so you know, I had the opportunity to go to school, and it brought me to Nashville. So I think like at that time it just felt like this like really encouraging momentum for me, and it just kind of felt like, yeah, like I'm gonna pursue this, you know. And I feel like valid in that pursuit, as well as like there's this growing love for it within me, and there's like this growing desire to like be an artist, to tour, to touch people, to like reach all corners of the world, like with music. And like I think like that was like growing in me at the time. And so it was kind of like just like little baby steps along the way that like sort of made me feel like it was possible, you know. And so yeah, I guess just to answer your question, I guess that was a good step towards like it being like real for me, you know.
Sure. So once you get into school, how, like when does Dreamer Boy start? Like, when you said you met Nick is the other guy you collaborate with?
Oh, Bobby.
Sorry. So Bobby.
Yeah.
So you met him in school, and like, how did Dreamer Boy start? Like, was that quickly into college, or like, how did that project begin, and why did it start?
For sure. I went all 4 years in college, sort of doing a bunch of different projects, and learning a lot, and I guess really doing more like soul searching too. I mean, in college, you just end up, I think I like by year 4 of college, I was a much different person than I was at 18. So it was kind of like just that growth as an individual was happening. And then I met Bobby my junior year, and we were actually neighbors at the time. So like I lived in this like apartment subunit of this house, and then we like shared a backyard with Bobby's house. And I just remember the first time ever hanging out with him, I just like went over to his house, and he was just like, yeah, like showed me some stuff he was working on. And then we ended up being like, yo, let's my lease is up soon, your lease is up soon, there's a couple other friends that like want to move in together, like let's all just move into a house together and like make music and throw shows and do like house party show events, and like do like let's just like live with our best friends and like just make music and like art all the time. Like that, like we've never done that. Like, so my senior year that happened and we all moved in together, and that's when I would say that's when like Dreamer Boy started, but we didn't have a name for it. It was just me and Bobby really starting to click and started to like really make music together every day. And so then we ended up like by the end of my senior year having like an album, and I was sort of like, wow, like we really put more time into this than we ever have, either of us, like with music up to this point. And you know, that's when like Clark, my manager, came into the picture, and that's when like all of these things started to happen. And then I graduated, and then it was like, okay, like this feels like real. This feels like let's really like put ourselves out there like with this. And so for me, it was kind of like I wanted, with at least like the moniker, it's like Dreamer Boy was sort of just this like this name that sort of like feels like it's me, but it's also like all of us, you know. And so I wanted sort of this like feeling of that, because I think while the project is like my project, and like I think like I sort of lead the way in terms of the vision and the songwriting and just kind of those sort of things. I just have these amazing friends and collaborators that have worked with me since day one that are also a part of it in a really cool way. So yeah, I think like that's really when Dreamer Boy found its identity, where it was just like, okay, like Zach, this is your role, but also like I, like Bobby, for instance, like he's like, I'm finding like my like belonging and also like purpose in this too. Like I feel like a part of this too, you know. And so I think that's like kind of a foundational like dynamic of Dreamer Boy, is sort of that like collaborative sort of like group effort. It's just like that team, like a real team effort, you know. And like I feel like I wouldn't want to do it any other way. And I what I tell like every young artist, because I'm a young artist too, but it's like what I tell every young artist is you can't do it alone. Like you just can't do it alone. And so like keep your peripherals open for those people who believe in you and know you and like really want to dive into something like with you, because I think like you can go so much further with people who maybe can do things that you can't, or have a different perspective and all these different things. So anyways, that's sort of like the long-winded answer of how Dreamer Boy started. But
so that record that you guys were working on, was that Love Nostalgia? Was that the first thing you guys
yes.
did? Okay.
Yes.
So you put that record out, and you talked about getting a manager and all these other things. Like how are those, like how did that all kind of happen? Were you guys like promoting yourselves as Dreamer Boy and like putting songs online, or were you playing like little shows around the college? Like how did you get your name out there to grab a management and kind of really get the thing going?
Yeah, with the manager situation, I mean, a lot of people like when you hear all the time, like in these types of interviews, like, oh yeah, and then like then I got a manager and then I signed a record deal, and it's like it seems like it's just like all these like things happening.
Sure.
And they don't really give you any context. But Clark, my manager, so when we were finishing the album in the spring of 2018, we put out the record in the fall of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
When we were finishing it in the spring, Clark was working in Chicago for Chance the Rapper's like team, and he was like in
wow.
Chicago.
Okay.
And he had been there for a few years, but he had reached out to me based on previous stuff I had released under just my name,
Mm-hmm.
and was just curious what I was up to. And so then I sent him the album, and I was like, this is like my Dreamer Boy album. Like this is what I've been working on for like 2 years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so so I just texted to him, and then like I go to class, and then after class I like check my phone, and he sent me like 2 or 3 paragraph long like text message, like basically just breaking down like everything he heard in the album, and like notes and critiques, and I was like okay, like this person like really just listened to this and like
Mm-hmm.
really cared enough to like talk about it and explain to me like what he just heard, and was excited about it. And so that was sort of just the beginning of like our relationship. And then like by some crazy coincidence, as we were moving closer to the fall and towards the end of the summer, we had a roommate who moved out of our house, and then at the same time Clark was going to move back to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Clark ended up moving into our house, and then
wow.
yeah, and then so at that time it was me, Clark, my manager, Adam, who I do all the videos with, and Bobby, and a couple other friends living in a house together right as we were about to put out this album. And then yeah, I just asked Clark, I was like, do you want to just like come on and just manage this? And
Uh-huh.
I mean, we just had already built such a friendship too, like at that point, that it was like, yeah, this feels special, like let's just run with this. And then we ended up getting asked to go on a tour that following winter, like that following like February, we like
Mm-hmm.
went on our first tour off the record, and it was like in big part to like Clark like just using some of his connections and getting the music in front of people. And so at the time I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like what a manager does, and like this is like real, like we have a team that is like we can do everything we need to do. And so like when I explain that story, I hope that like younger artists like feel encouraged, because really it's not necessarily about like having like that one thing that happens. Like it's about like it's about being open to the right people coming into your life, and it's about being open also to like, and like also discerning like what you want, and being intentional with what you want as an artist. And like as long as you're intentional, and as long as like the music is good, and you believe in it, like you just got to be patient, because then you'll just find that you'll attract the right people. And then yeah, there's no shortcuts, I don't think, you know, unless you're like 1 in a million, you know.
Sure.
I guess unless you're like Billie Eilish or
Or
something.
like Little Nas X or something. You just have some random boom of one song or something.
Yeah, and you know that happens, but I think like you just gotta be patient and just keep putting in the work, you know.
Yeah. When you said you guys went on tour, was that
Mm-hmm.
was that your first kind of performance, like playing shows and stuff, or had you guys played some shows around Nashville prior to doing that tour?
It was the first tour was my first time performing as like Dreamer Boy and with these songs. We did play one show, so this is kind of cool. Like we put out the album in early November, and then it was kind of getting some local buzz, and like literally the first music that we'd ever put out, and like I'd ever put out as Dreamer Boy. So it was just kind of this like, it was just kind of like this like unveiling. It was just kind of like, oh, like this is new, this is interesting. Like even just my friends like some of my friends that hadn't kept up with me in a while, like, were just like, oh, like this is what you've been up to. And then later in November that year, we just got hit up to open for a show in Nashville for Lynn and Stella. And that was like right at the end of the month that we put out the album. So it was like, that was the first show that we played. And I remember when we played that show, it just felt like this new energy like was alive in me and Bobby, and like especially for just me as a performer, like performing those songs for the first time, like after maybe just years of performing songs on my own, or just years of performing songs that maybe didn't truly feel like myself. Like it was like this super confirming like experience to be like like this feels like so natural, and like I want to do this like all the time. And so then once we got the opportunity to go on tour, it was just kind of like this continuation of like, okay, like this is exciting. Like I'm not even nervous to perform anymore. I'm just like, I'm like ready to go out there and like it keeps exploring like what this is. And so it was a really exciting time. And like, I don't even want to downplay like what it meant to us. It was like really, really cool, you know?
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys get back obviously from tour. And I want to talk about like obviously the most recent records that you guys have put out.
Yes.
Especially so from Love Nostalgia, you it looks like you put out some singles. I mean, Puppy Dog was a big single. I don't know if that's going to make it onto the next record or how.
Yeah, Puppy Dog was just kind of a loose song that we never really had on a record, and so we just wanted to put it out. And so that was like late last year that we put that out, and we were on the road with Claro at that time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
that
was
must have
like
been a
really
huge
fun
tour.
Oh yeah, it was so fun. We were in Europe, and we like put out Puppy Dog like while we were in Europe, and like that was like a really, really fun experience. And like that was the only song that we put out in 2019 though. Yeah, and it was towards the end.
So tell me about so when like Cry Baby is the most recent, and then you put out but were those songs, so I want to get into like coronavirus, how that affected you, and then and like, so were those songs that you wrote prior to that all happening, or how did the pandemic, so to speak, stop you, and what were you up to during that?
Well, that's a good question, and I mean I think like my answer to this is like it sort of like peels like it like kind of pulls back the curtain in a way, because it kind of just exposes sort of how the timeline sort of sometimes works in music. But like I had the whole album written that's coming out right now, like Cry Baby and Know You. And it was pretty much all finished and written, and like just needed to be mixed back in February of this year. And so pretty much going into quarantine, we had a finished album, you know?
Oh, okay. So all those songs are written, and were they produced and recorded?
Yeah. Oh, wow. They were like, we spent like a month in LA in February, like finishing everything. And we had written and started producing the whole album sort of like as far back as like on that first tour that we went on at the beginning of 2019. So I mean, pretty much as soon as we got out Love Nostalgia, we started writing new songs, and then ended up finishing all that whole new album earlier this year. And then since, it's just been me sort of like writing a bunch of new music, but also like it's been like tricky navigating too, like you know, we had like a plan for before stuff started happening, and then once stuff started happening, it was kind of we had to adapt like with our label and stuff. And you know, now things, it's like I couldn't imagine it happening any other way, and I always feel like things are happening in the right time. But in terms of how the pandemic has affected things, really it's more so affected the sort of visual creative side of these songs, because I've sort of been working on that stuff for this record during this time, and then also writing like the next one, you know. So but
So,
I can't get too far ahead of myself, you know.
I know. I've talked to so many artists that were kind of saying the same thing. It's like they had a record finish like you did end of 2019, and it's like, okay, now like do we put it out? Like you're kind of like in this weird limbo phase, but then like you're inside, so you're writing probably a whole nother record, and it's like,
Yeah.
are these other songs like a year old now because you couldn't have toured them? Like I know that a lot of people are kind of coming into these weird dilemmas when it's like you almost have too much music and you aren't able to like really, you know, perform and give those certain songs the time to breathe. Like but I guess
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, if you're just writing and writing, you obviously have something ready for once you can
Absolutely.
tour and stuff. So
Also too, I think, but
go
yeah,
ahead.
anyways, I was just gonna say, like, I think one thing that's been exciting is that even though this music, like some of these songs on this new album that is going to be out in the spring,
Mhm.
even though some of these songs are like I wrote like almost 2 years ago now, they've really held up, at least in my own like personal journey, and like
Mhm.
I think like the whole like at least like message of the album and everything like still like totally like I'm still excited about. And so I think like it's almost like a cool test, because it's not only just exciting when we were most excited about it like back in February, but it's still now, like, even with all the challenges that we've had to sort of adapt to, like it's still exciting us, and it's still like a statement that we like as a, you know, or at least I like want to make as an artist. So
Mhm.
that, you know, that's always like encouraging, you know.
Yeah. Is it like for example, the song you just put out, most recent one,
Crybaby.
Cry Baby, like something like that, like are you able to kind of promote the song? Like do you do like Instagram lives, or is it like trying to come up with music videos like in a safe, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
way?
Yeah, we're putting out a bunch of singles for the album, and so Know You and Crybaby are the first two. We've done music videos for both of the songs, and we're gonna continue to put out singles kind of through the winter, and then with music videos as well. So I'm super involved in that sort of side of things, and so I stay super busy with like directing and shooting and that sort of thing. And like we have another single coming out December 2nd,
Hmm.
and so um, we'll have that song come out, and then 2 weeks later it will be a music video. And it's like we just finished shooting that, and I directed it, and it's like that sort of side of things is like something I kind of have to like put that hat on for this
Hmm.
album. But then also like me and Bobby are still meeting up in the studio to like work on the new music, you know. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, but it's exciting and it's really fun, you know. It's
Do,
like,
do you enjoy the video directings type
oh
work?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. It's challenging though. It's like it's definitely super challenging, and I'm learning. And like, yeah, just more than anything, you need help with film. I think like that has to be the most collaborative like field by far,
Yeah.
because it's almost like it's almost like especially for me, like if I'm performing in the video, but also like, you know, having to step out of frame. So just like like set the frame with my friend and like get everything set up, and then there's like lighting and all these different things that are kind of going on.
Hmm.
It's like it takes an army to sort of like pull that off. And
Sure.
so it's exciting, but it's so stressful for me sometimes. But I'm getting better at just like trusting and just kind of like um getting to that place where it's like, okay, like we're gonna get it, and
Mhm.
like, you know, just
Yeah.
easy peasy, baby.
It's almost like, yeah, I feel like for musicians and other artists, like now you guys kind of have to take on like so many other like roles, so to speak. Like now you're directing videos, and you gotta kind of come up with creative ways of showcasing your songs and, you know, getting your
Hmm.
music out there without being able to be like, here's the record, and then here's my 20 tour dates. You can come, you know, come see me. So now you're kind of
Yeah,
like, oh, I gotta
yeah,
make this video. And yeah, I mean, wow.
yeah.
um
And it's exciting. I love every part of it, but definitely not having shows. Shows, I feel like playing shows is just the easiest, most natural way to
mhm.
promote
Right.
myself at least, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, well, yeah, it's okay. No, it's okay. I mean, just hopefully we'll have this back soon, you know.
I know, man. They're saying it's close, so we shall see. But
Yeah.
Zach, dude, thank you so much for talking with me today. I really
Oh,
appreciate your time.
absolutely, man. Yeah,
I do.
absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Oh, I do. Thank you so much. I do have one more question, but I know you've been like providing advice for aspiring artists throughout this entire thing. But I wonder if you could like, if you have any like condensed version of kind of the scope of what you've already been talking about this whole time.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Yeah. You know, as an aspiring artist myself, I think like you're always sort of learning and growing, and so I think like just be present in where you're at in your journey, and don't allow someone else's journey to infiltrate your own thinking about where you should be. And I think also too, just I think be true to yourself, and like and be open. And I think like if you don't know where to begin, just begin anywhere, you know. So that's I guess it's a good condensed version, but you know, feel free to DM me, you know, we can talk. If you're a young artist and you're trying to figure this stuff out, just reach out to me, and I'm always down to talk. So